That's right. Welcome in, welcome back, folks, to a Work It Out Wednesday. There he is. Kent's here. Kent, you're here. My whole introduction was going to be putting together a search party to go find Kent because he wasn't in the chat first thing. He showed up. Man, that was going to be a good angle. It was going to be a good angle. I was going to say, man, we got Kent so upset about the Irish. He's ditched always Irish, but he's here. Good to see you, Kent. I want you to know as much crap as everybody gives you in this chat. Multiple people asking in the chat, where's Kent today? Good to have you here, bro. It's just not the same without you, Kent. So thank you for being here with the Ohio State flair. I appreciate you. So anyways, welcome in, welcome back, folks, to a New York State of Mind Dome Away from Home edition of the Always Irish Show. I don't know why I have this energy today. I just do. It's because I like talking to you. That's why. So, as always, we're going to take some calls. Dr. John's going to be first up. He's too busy hustling people in golf games in Arizona most of the other days, but he does listen. Wednesdays are Dr. John's call-in days. We're going to get to him. I see Dr. John. I see 786. Those are going to be the first two up. Anybody else, give me a call. 312-900-8815. Here's what I want to know. Keys to the game, Notre Dame, Syracuse. I want to know your keys to the game. I want to know your predictions for the game. And I also want to know, is it fair for Notre Dame fans to go into this game with any amount of confidence at all? And I mean that genuinely as a question. Like, can you trust Notre Dame to have any confidence level whatsoever heading into this ball game? Those are some of the things I want to feel our way through this week. So let's get through the introduction. Then we're going to do the chat roll call. That's one of my favorite things to do. I don't know why. I like giving a shout out to everybody that's here. So we're going to do that, and then we'll get into this, okay? Going to have a fun show today. YouTube, obviously, you know where to find me because you're on it right now. So if you can't figure that out, I can't help you. Nobody can. Hit subscribe. Appreciate it very much. Thumbs up. Notifications on. That way you'll be alerted every time a new episode drops. Oh, the nature boy dropped in. Go dogs, he says. Woo! My shoes cost more than your house. Woo! Anyways, any chance I get to do a flare, I'm doing it, okay? There's no chance, zero chance somebody's going to jump in my chat thread as Ric Flair and you're not getting a woo! You're getting them. All right? You're getting them. There's no chance I'm letting that opportunity go by. It's just, quite frankly, way too much fun. All right, folks? Twitter, search bar Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want me, you can get me. Kent, I'm not drunk. It's 9:04. It's 9:04. I am not drunk. And if I was going to be drunk doing this show, it'd probably be on Saturdays. Let's be honest. At least it's a Saturday. I probably would. I am on nothing but coffee. I drink a hot one before the show, and then I make myself an iced one to sip on during the show. So that's my deal. All right. But I'm not on anything else. People have asked me that before. Like off the record, seeing the way I am in my show, off the record, I've had people message me and be like, dude, what are you on and where do I get some? I could use some of that. No, I'm not on anything. I'm not on anything but Notre Dame brain. So that's scary enough. Possibly scarier than drugs is having a Notre Dame brain, all right? So give me a break. Fighting Irish Wire. Check it out. I got a couple things on my mind. I put up a Tommy Rees episode and to mixed reviews, which is what it should be because not everybody agrees on that topic. So I put that out in the Irish Wire. Read it. USA Today, Irish Wire. Check it out. Put that out. It's getting a lot of traffic. And then I put something else out on what's left for Notre Dame to play for this year. So check it out, folks. All right, we're going to do the roll call, and then we're going to get to some regular calls, okay? So let's scroll back up. Welcome, everybody here. I'm so offended. Well, I'm not offended that you're here. Thank you for being here. Deborah Thomas, where you at, Kent? See, people are asking for you. Matthew Logston, holy hell, I beat Kent to the show. Kent, I'm telling you, man, I was about to call the Ohio authorities and say, you got a postage. You got one of the bosses of your old postage operation, MIA. He's missing from the Always Irish, and I need you guys to search Ohio and find him. Jaded Clay, good to see you here. Oh, Jaded. What else? Who else we got? Paul Conley. It's always good to see Paul. Paul, good morning, John. I have no idea if the Notre Dame offense can score. Pine will not have time in the pocket. Well, we're going to have to find that out the hard way. Bass and Domer. Every game this team plays is going to be close, going to be a grind. That's kind of how it feels, doesn't it? Drunk Vigo. Drunk, you got to explain to everybody this. I don't know where you live, Drunk, but it's 9:07 and you're telling people you played ice hockey this morning. I'm telling you what, that is some dedication. And you said in the chat you were getting older. That's some morning dedication to get out there and do that before the sun comes up, unless I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. Oh, Paul, $5 holler. I appreciate you. 618, you're in the call log. You'll get up as well. $5 holler from Paul. Interested on your take in Notre Dame versus Syracuse this week. Any chance of an ND victory? We're going to get to that. It's going to be one of the main topics of the day, folks. Jaded Clay, always good to see you here. Which Pine are we going to get? Are we going to get BYU and UNC or Stanford Pine? I don't know, but you're hitting on another one of my main topics, Jaded. Your name is Jaded Clay, but your head's not made of it because you're right on it. It's one of my topics of the day. You are drunk. It's exhausting. I'm an old man. Good exercise, that ice hockey, man. Wear out your legs, turning them blades. Angela Rudiger, good to see you, Rudy. It's always good to, I say it every time. It gives me comfort to have a Rudiger that I know in the chat. So thank you. Appreciate you. Colby, dogs on top. Tell you what, man, dogs look good. It's like, what is it? Tennessee's the new kid on the block. See what's up with them, or what are we thinking down in the SEC? What are we thinking down there? Is this the year it isn't all Alabama finally, or what? Kent, we're just glad you're here. We're just glad you're okay. The Format Podcast, Bruce Hope, down from, what is it, Jacksonville or something, got to meet him up at the Stanford game. I had a great time with him before the game. Bruce, it's good to see you here. Bruce says he's supposed to be working, but he's got to show his guy John some love. Here's the deal, folks. I'm not trying to get any of you in trouble at work. Don't risk your livelihood and career listening to me. I mean, if you can, I love it, but don't get in trouble doing it. Tell them it's a training video or something. Tell them it's an HR training about how to appropriately interact with people. Tell them that's what you're watching. They'll believe it. I'm sure they will. Irish trending. ND needs to try for 2 quarterbacks in the portal. I don't know if it's realistic, though. Neither do I. Because if you get one guy in the portal, they're going to want to know if they're going to have the inside track to start or not. Why would you, even if it's one transfer and not 2? I'm not transferring unless I'm playing. Like, I'm not going to transfer into you to sit the bench if I'm not happy because I'm somewhere else sitting the bench. So that's what's tricky with that. If you do it, it's pretty much the one guy. It's like the one guy, and they're not going to transfer to you if they're not told they're going to play. So 2 is unrealistic. 1, I don't even know if that's realistic anymore. They did it with Cone. Does Freeman want to do it? Do you think Notre Dame doesn't even have an option and they got to do it after this year? These are all in play. That quarterback room, I swear to God, that quarterback room It's got my hairline receding more than Lake Mead. They're going to start finding mob guys in barrels on the side of my head. Terry Moore, Dr. John, get me right. He's coming up. He'll have something for us. Kent says he's 29. Well, that's good, Kent. You got a lot more years to ride the Always Irish train. And I'm dead serious, Kent. We're all laughing. We're joking. They give you a hard time in the chat. I am dead serious, Kent, when I tell you that we're meeting up for Notre Dame, Ohio State next year in South Bend. We got to hang out. Like, it has to be after this, how this all started. You're going to be my guest. We'll get you around South Bend. I'll show you where you need to see, and I'll get you where you need to be. Trust me. Roll with Always Irish. Sean Hunter, good to see you here. Terry Moore with the boo. I don't know what we're booing. Terry Moore's booing, and I'm wooing because the Nate is in the chat, okay? MJH Irish, Monsignor John preaching to the Irish flock. That's scary, folks. Although I will say, I did take some extensive coursework in my master's program in existentialism and philosophy. I will say that. I do admit that. In my master's program, I went out of my way to get some existentialism and philosophy of different things, and I spent a lot of time doing that. It's impacted the way I think of everything. And you'll notice a lot of my Notre Dame angles are more philosophical than they are statistical. And that's probably why. I'm not saying I'm smart or anything like that. That's not my point. It is interesting to me, though. I had a lot of schooling in existentialism and philosophy. Makes me think of a lot of things differently. Kent says I'm zooted up. I'm zooted up on coffee. That's all. Baggy Dome is trouble for the Irish, says James. I don't know. We're going to find out. I figured John would be more of a Randy Savage man. I like Randy too, but he isn't in the chat. If he was, I'd be going, ooh, brother. You think Notre Dame's got a chance in the Syracuse Dome, brother? Step into a Slim Jim. God, man. What a golden age of wrestling. Robert, Phil Hag, good to see you here. Bring some to your tailgate, John. I'll bring coffee to my tailgate. I'm serious. I'm not on anything. I'm not on anything but Notre Dame energy. Burt Reynolds, you're here. God, I appreciate when somebody comes from the grave to come into the chat. Means they must really like the show. Honestly. Zona Tucson, Colby, good morning. Thanks for being here. Deborah Thomas, Kent, glad you're okay. See, we give Ken a hard time, but we still want him to be here. Oh, Colby, Tennessee, with the emoji I'm not going to repeat. Terry Moore, $2 holler. Thank you very much. Is Audric Estimate off the naughty list? You can't be off the naughty list till you hold onto the ball, son. I don't care if you run over and headbutt all 11 defenders, but if you drop the ball at the end, I can't rely on you. It hurts my feelings a lot. I love the way this guy runs, but it hurts me when he puts it on the ground at the end. And what double hurts me is he's been doing it on the back end of these great efforts. The exact reason we love Estime, and I think it's funny you say estimate. I don't know if that's on purpose or not. The exact reason we love the guy is why he's fumbling. Fighting for the extra yards, bullying, bulldozing the other team, trying to get that extra 2 yards. Those are when he's fumbling. So it's super frustrating because the features I love about him the most are burning him right now and by therefore burning us. And I don't like it. I don't like it, but he's got to hold on to the ball. A Sortino, thank you for being here. You know how some teams just have another team's number? Let's see. Let's bring this up. Case in point, ND and UNC. I feel like Syracuse is the same no matter how ranked ND has a shot. I get what you mean with that. I do. MJH Irish. The risk about my job. I'm watching you as I drive the kids on the school bus. Come on, buddy. Come on. Are you messing with me? Come on, MJH Irish 84. Are you messing with me? I'm watching you as I drive the kids on the school bus. Hey, come on. I don't want to be responsible for local school bus driver drives into, building with 90 kids in the back trying to get to elementary school. And they say, what happened? Were you a distracted driver? You'll say, yeah, this idiot John was yelling and he said something and it made me the old Billy Madison, O'Doyle rules, and they finally turned that station wagon right off the edge there at the end. I don't want to be responsible for any unsafe driving practices. So I appreciate the support, but take care of them kids. Oh, the nature boy. It's good to see you go deep. Georgia got 2 transfer QBs 1 year, one from Wake Forest and the USC kid. I just don't know if Notre Dame's willing to even operate that way. One is totally realistic, and you could argue totally needed. If you want to talk about one, Matt Radke, good to see you here. My Nashville buddy just got in here. Not sure if it's been talked about. Let's see. Going to the phones next. Hang in there. Dr. John, 786-618, first 3. Bert, means a lot that you love me, man. I always love it when famous people like me. John Kennedy, Burt Reynolds, we could cause some real damage hitting the streets. Bert, let's do it. Oh, Matt Radke just got in here. Not sure it's been talked about, but could you imagine if we finish the 23 class without a quarterback recruit? Yes, I can imagine it. And it's just not a good place to be. The question I've been playing with in my brain matter is, if you can't get a high-end 23 guy, like a highly thought of 4 or 5 star guy, are you better to take a transfer after this year, not fill that spot? Or is that where Notre Dame knocks way down the list and you end up with a low 3-star guy no one's excited about, with the physical upside of, say our current quarterback, small, not fast, not a big arm, not a big guy. Like, is that the path you go? And then the staff goes, okay, quarterback, check that box off. But in my mind, it isn't checked off because you didn't restock the room with elite ceiling talent. And that's the only way Notre Dame's quarterback situation gets fixed. There's nothing easy about this situation. Okay? Kent, I'm here. Next year, South Bend, I'm there. That's what I'm talking about. Kent, I'm telling you, you're going to hang with me. I'm going to have it all set up and all figured out. I mean, Kent, you got people that want to meet you. Some of my people want to meet you. Even my family wants to meet you that watches the show just to support me. My mom will be like, John, I don't know. I watch your show and, Kent, sometimes Kent's nice, but sometimes he's mean. And then sometimes Notre Dame. And I say, Mom, that's what makes for a healthy ecosystem online. Kent's the man. You got to come meet us, Kent. Hang with your boy. Mikey Poles says, John, I'm late. It's all good, man. It's all good, dude. Don't worry about it. You can come in here whenever you want. The nature boy ain't me, baby. Oh, man, it's good to see everybody. I mean, Kent, if you can hook that up, John should be a cartoon voice person. Dude, you know how much fun that would be? I love switching my voice up and doing dumb stuff. That's why I love Halloween so much. It's like a free pass to do all that goofy stuff. Oh, boy. All right. I think we got pretty caught up. Let's see. I think I missed a donation. I can't be missing. No, there it is. $5 holler. Did I miss that? All right. Already? Oh, that's what I wanted to mention. Great article on Rees. Good job. I tried to be fair. I tried to do an article, folks, pluses and minuses at Tommy Rees. Put it in the USA Today Fighting Irish Wire. Went up yesterday on the website. I was trying to find pluses and minuses of keeping Tommy around and trying to be fair about it. A ledger. What's on his side in his favor for him to return and what is not. And I tried to be as fair as I could. The problem is, when I went to the pro Rees side, not one of the items was a statistic. about how good the offense is, how good the quarterbacks look, the linear development showing that quarterbacks get better the longer they're with Rees. No. That's where the pro-Rees argument falls short, is results where it matters the most. Saturdays, the biggest games. What do? Gets to me, folks. Paul Conley, ND, gets hurt on the quarterback run. That's interesting you mentioned that, Paul. Number one on my list of how Notre Dame should approach this team defensively is number one with a bullet, circled, highlighted, starred, put in a fancy font. Number one for me is not to let Schrader run on you with his legs. He annoyed Clemson with that all game Saturday. I'm not here for it. I am not here for it. I am a dummy in my basement yelling into a rectangle right now. And I can see it's a problem if you let that guy wiggle around and run on you. I ain't here for it. I'm not there for it. I'm not here to watch it on TV. I'm not interested. So Marist or whoever, somebody, the collie, whoever, somebody spied this guy and knock him silly. Every time he gets that silly idea, I'm going to bail and I'm going to run. All right? I see it from 10 million miles away as an amateur nobody in my basement. This guy can and will burn you if you let him. Do not let him. I am not open to that happening even one time. Not one. Zero. He was their leading rusher by far against Clemson, and he's the quarterback. Come on. Shut that down. Marist, somebody, their job is to follow that guy and hit him legally every single chance you get. Period. That's what I need to see, and that's the only thing it could be. All right? So before we get to the calls, Dr. John first, here's what I'm going to start this week. Here's what Kent, cocaine's a hell of a drug. I'm telling you, man. It's amazing that skit lives on, and it's still one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I quote it every day. It is one of the funniest skits in TV history. If you know it, you know it, and if you don't, you don't, okay? Nick, you better be careful. Nick Shepkowski in here, the managing editor of the Fighting Irish Wire. Better be careful. I don't know if that school district's monitoring your online activities, so it's a good thing you're on your personal there. Here's where we're going to start this, though, when we get to the calls. Here's the deal, folks. For as frustrating as Notre Dame's dynamic has been this year so far, as frustrating as that is, they have an opportunity to pick it up the back end of this year and make people feel a lot better. They really do. If you look at what's on the back end of this schedule, there's big opportunities. Syracuse, Clemson, USC all come to mind. Here's the problem with that, folks. It's a double-edged sword, and that can very easily backfire on Notre Dame. The fact that we're frustrated where we're at, nobody's really happy with the performance overall. You got a lot of opportunities to make people feel a lot better about you this second half. But the problem is, if it goes bad even further, it's a double-edged sword, and then you're kind of nosediving to end the year. And especially if you nosedive at USC, this is going to get really tough. So Notre Dame has a good opportunity. A part of me is glad they have some really good opponents on the back end, because it is a real opportunity to show what you saw early in the year wasn't who we were. But I just don't know if I could trust them to deliver that. I don't know if I could trust them to deliver that. It's rough. So that's where I'm framing this week. Notre Dame has a terrific chance again. How many times this year have we said that? A terrific chance again to gain back some trust and favor with the fan base and build themselves some confidence, which is something they need. But you got to get it right. I mean, you can't flame out the rest of this year. All right. That being said, let's get to Dr. John first. Everybody else, keep calling. 312-900-8815. 612. Let's see what the good doctor has in store today. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
I want to know before we get into Notre Dame.
Hey, what?
How's your golf game? I got to ask.
Well, you were going on for so long, I thought I was going to miss my 10:25 tee time this morning.
Oh, my gosh. I can't be doing that to you.
Hey, I wanted to say good morning also to the Kent Jackson.
There you go. I'm telling you, it wasn't the same without him here. I was worried for a minute. I'm glad he's with us. I'm glad he's safe.
Yeah, and if I have any money left from my Ireland trip in August, I may show up at that Ohio State game.
I'm telling you what, me, you, and Kent, we could really tear up the town, John. Imagine that threesome.
Yeah, we could. I don't know if I'll have to have a walker by then or not, but we'll see.
Oh, you're never going to need a walker.
How are your sinuses this morning? Do you need to take a break before we get into my agenda here?
You know what? I'm clearing out. It took me about 2 weeks, but I'm actually feeling pretty good. I think I'm good. I'm ready to go. You can let it fly. I'm ready.
Okay. Well, first of all, really excited to see your subscription thing build. I think you've added up 2,500 since I started watching it. So
thank you.
That's great.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
First, I'm kind of jumping around here because you've been onto this estimate fumble thing. I remember Johnny Latner saying that when he fumbled the ball, Leahy would make him walk around campus all week holding a football. So maybe that's what we need to start with. But that's the man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I love the physicality, but if you can't hold the ball, you're going to be in the doghouse, and it's just the way it has to be. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, and he's so tough. He's so tough. It's just great to see him in there. Anyway, UNLV. The thing that bothered me the most, I think, in that game was in the fourth quarter, 13 and 14 runs in a row. Now, I'd like to think they didn't want to show Syracuse anything, but I don't know if we got anything we're worried about showing them. But that to me is on Marcus, John. I mean, I guess I would have loved to have seen, hey, we got these guys beat. Let's turn these guys loose and try something. So
yeah, I don't know, man.
It's a little disturbing,
John. Like, am I wrong in saying Notre Dame probably should have had 50-something points by halftime of that game with all the extra possessions they gained and everything? Like, I just needed more work to get done in the Stanford UNLV window leading us into what's coming next than I felt that did get done. And that's frustrating within the overall frustration of where we're at this year. I just thought we'd look a little better and get more accomplished in that 2-week window than we did.
Well, when you said that on the show, and I said out loud, yeah, I agree. Absolutely, we should have had 50 points.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating.
I want to say something about Pine, too. I mean, the kid, I mean, he's in there slugging, but like you said, he's not big enough to do what they're trying to do. I think he's going to set a record, though, John. I really do. On the number of passes knocked down at the line. God, how many did he have knocked down on Saturday?
Yeah, it's tough. It's just tough. And like, it's very, very hard to get into this discussion without having it eventually come off as me ripping Drew Pine. My issues here are not with Drew Pine at all. Drew Pine is playing football the way somebody with Drew Pine's physical skill set tends to play football. That is not his fault. My issue is reduced all the way down to the recruiting process. I just kind of wish Notre Dame had more high-end elite potential skill set guys in the pipeline than we've had and that we do have. And I think that is a fair position for me to have, but it comes off as me crapping on Drew Pine every day, and I'm not trying to do that.
No. I mean, the kid is in there he's a soldier. He's doing what he can do. He's doing what he can do. So
yeah, I don't. It is
all
not.
right,
My complaint is not with him.
move on to Syracuse.
Sure. What do you make of the dome away from home? That's what I'm calling it. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, I go into this game like I go into every freaking game.
Stressed out?
Hope, we can win this. We could win this game. Then the other side of you says, "Oh no, I'm afraid we're going to lose this game." But the Syracuse game, the thing that it brings back to me. Well, you were at Bush Push, right?
Yes, I was. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, and I was there too. And that's a game where they broke the rules. They ended up changing the rules. And Syracuse is one of those teams. My senior year, we're playing Syracuse at home. We're down 15-14. There's no time left. We got to try a field goal. I think it's about 50 yards. We have Joe the Toe Perkowski back there. He hits a wounded duck that's spinning with the nose up in the air. Maybe it goes 15 yards. But somebody obliterates the holder. So they throw a flag for roughing. And now there's a 5-10 minute confab because the game's over. The rest don't know what the heck to do. So they end up penalizing Syracuse and let us kick it again, and we win the game 17-15, and they change the rule. Now a half or a game cannot end on a defensive penalty.
Wow, interesting little history there. Changed the whole landscape.
Absolutely, and so did Bush Push. Now, I mean, my God, it's a rugby scrum a lot of times, you know.
Yep. So, John, what's your feeling on this? Yeah. What is your feeling here? Like, I want to believe, like, there's no practical reason Notre Dame can't play well and win this game, even if it's kind of ugly, like a slugfest or something. But I just don't know if I could trust them to buy into that. Where do you fall on that?
Well, I was very surprised to see. I don't know what the line is this morning, but yesterday I looked at it. It was Syracuse by 3. That's basically home field. I did not understand that. I mean, I know the bookies are looking to make money, but they made a little money, I think, on Notre Dame over the weekend. You know, it opened at 25, went to 27, and we never got close to the 25. So I go into these games with so much ambivalence. I just know we can win, but, you know, it's like having those two, the devil angel and the heaven angel on each of your shoulders talking to you.
They're so inconsistent, John, that I'm having trouble really getting a grasp of, like, entering the game, the level of play I expect. I don't know. Like, I don't know where that leaves me, because that Stanford thing really threw everything off. Like, you were stabilizing till that point. That was the one that made me realize, dude, you just can't count on anything, any game. And so there's paths here for Notre Dame to play really well and notch a big road win. And that's important leading into what they have coming next after Syracuse as well, to have some momentum and be trending a little bit back up. I just don't know if I could trust them, John. I don't. Clemson ran it for just under 300 yards on these guys last week. Can Notre Dame break 2? Like, is that a place to start?
Well, I'll tell you where it would be a nice place to start is if the team that ran out into the horseshoe shows up. If they play like they did against Ohio State, we'll beat these guys.
But is there any way to replicate that game, that was
just told you. But I mean, maybe I'm just too addicted. That nothing is going to get me off this drug. You know what I mean?
well, yeah. It's a lifelong thing, John. It's a lifelong thing, John.
Yeah.
And it just means so much to us. It's never going away. And if it's in you, and you're going to live and die with it, even when it makes no sense, even when it's frustrating. You're going to love it. It's just the way it is. It's who we are. And I love the pain, John. Even when it's bad, I love the pain. It's better than not loving something this much. Yeah. It is. And it's sick. Yeah. But it's better. Even the pain is better than not loving something this much with my family. And it's sick, but that's where we are and it's who we are.
Yeah, and I think I told you this before. I think one of the things that helps me a lot is, these three daughters of mine, I mean, all middle-aged adults, they got into this thing, and so that has helped me a lot. I worry about where they are more than I worry about where I am when we lose. So.
Yeah, it's
in the blood. It's in the blood. I can't do anything about it. I'm here till I die.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. So, hey, man, John, at least you're a little bit older than me. At least you saw a lot of good Notre Dame football, man. You
come on, man.
What? You're just a little bit older than me, but you've seen a lot of good Notre Dame football, John. John, my dream is to be able to be cognizant enough to embrace what it feels like for Notre Dame to win it all. I was 4 when we won last time. I wasn't able to do that. I don't know what it's like to be able to have that feeling of us being truly number one. I don't know what it's like. And I'm like addicted to know what I'm like chasing the high I've never had before because I just want to know what that's like. So I don't know, John. Yeah. But this Notre Dame thing's never going away. And there's a lot of people just like us. And we're never going away. It's never going to change. It's who we are. And it's for life. I didn't choose it. It chose us.
Yeah, it ain't going to happen.
I know.
It ain't going anyplace.
I know.
Scar tissue and all.
Yep.
Okay, I got to turn you loose so you can get some other calls. Here, I'm saying 27-17.
There you go.
We win.
All right. Beautiful. Thanks a lot, John. Have a good day, man.
Okay, partner.
Take care.
Love your show.
Thank you.
There, baby.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Hey, listen, guys. I have no idea what happened. If people are jumping in now, my internet cut out. The screen went blank. I could still talk to John on the phone line. I don't know what happened. It said I had no internet. So I'm back. So if you're in the stream, skip ahead 2 minutes and you'll be able to get it. I don't know what happened, but I'm not very happy with it. 786, you're in the mix. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
What's going on, man? What's on your mind as we enter Syracuse week?
Mainly, I wanted to touch on the video you made about the game right after.
Yeah, after UNLV.
For Notre Dame, especially this year, I feel like we really got to get, how do I say, like, the offenses, just the team in general, the expectations for the team have to get into some kind of more realistic reality, because there's no way that you honestly think that Notre Dame should have scored 70 points on UNLV. You know, we sit here every week, and we rip the offense for being inadequate, for being unable. It's like pulling teeth to get 5 yards, and then we all come in here and say they should have scored 70 points, 50 by halftime. I mean, that's just not realistic. Same with Notre Dame hasn't put up 70 points against somebody since 1932. And if you think that this team with this offense, even with the advantages we had, was able to do that, no.
But I think that's the point.
This year just isn't going to be able to do it.
Right. But the point I was trying to make is I'm glad you're bringing this up. And I actually wish more people would call and push me on some of the angles I have, because that's healthy. And that's what makes for a good conversation. I think my point in saying, like, for instance, I know I said in the first half, Notre Dame should have 50 something. I guess my point with that is a real offense would do that. Not the one we have, not the one we're capable of, but a real high-level offense that would be acceptable nationally. That's what they would do. So I think maybe I didn't explain this team should be able to do it. A good offense should be able to do it. And I wanted to highlight how far away we are from that. So I get what you're saying, but maybe I didn't explain, I don't expect it from this offense, but a real one is what I would expect that to be. And it was highlighting the fact that how far away we are from that was kind of my point.
Okay. I mean, that makes more sense.
Yeah, and maybe, but I'm glad you brought that up, though. And
they only put 42 points up against Toledo in the first half. So, I mean, 50 points that's an ask for any team. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and then Greg, somebody put in the chat now, pushing back on you a little bit. And it says, John, tell this guy Notre Dame had 6 red zone opportunities in the first quarter. So, like, that's where I look at that, and I'm just like, man, 6. You had 6 in the first quarter. Let's go.
I understand that, and that's all fine and everything. But we're sitting here talking about how bad the offensive line is. They're not just going to magically, against UNLV, because they're playing UNLV, just going to magically go and score on every single red zone, 6-yard line opportunity they have. That's not realistic. That's just not. I'm sorry, that's not.
I get that, but here's what I'm also not willing to do, man. Here's what I'm not willing to do. And Notre Dame fans have to protect themselves against what I'm going to say. What I am not willing to do is start lowering the bar for Marcus Freeman to the point where I should just be glad we escaped at home against like a lower level team, or like Marcus inherited something good enough that the bar needs to be more than just being happy you get by some of these teams. Like, I'm not willing to let the bar go down that low because I think it's lower than it should be. And on the flip side, it was unfair to expect Freeman to go undefeated with the roster Kelly left. Like, it was unfair expectations on the high side too. But on the low side, I just need to make sure there's some sort of standard, and it can't just be like he inherited garbage and we're just glad to win any game this year. The bar has to be a little higher than that for me. And maybe you'll say the end result of UNLV showed that because we won by 23. That's fair.
I mean, I'm not saying that we lower the bar so far that UNLV is a good win. Obviously, that's not realistic, but I'm saying with what we have, the team and the caliber of team that we have, 44 points. I don't see why that's why everyone's thinking that we should have doubled that. I mean, I feel like we expect Drew Pine to complete more passes. I feel like Drew Pine's out there doing the best he can. What is he supposed to do? He can't throw the ball to anybody because no one can catch it. He can't see over the line to make far throws. He's doing the best he can with, like you said, the physical talents he has and the caliber of players that he has as well. Teams are wise enough. His number one target is Mayer, and everyone wants to say, well, he loves Mayer more than I love my wife. Who else is he supposed to throw the ball to? He's going to throw it to somebody who keeps dropping the ball, and I'm not saying he's perfect and he makes all the throws. I'm just saying, what is he supposed to do?
Well,
he's taking so much heat for some guy. What is he supposed to do?
I mean,
to magically wake up and be a CJ Stroud? Is he supposed to magically wake up and now the wide receiver core that he has is Abuka and Travion Henderson and all that stuff?
Hey, man.
Is that what's supposed to happen?
Exactly what you're bringing up or why we're all frustrated, because there's no easy answer to any of this, man. Like, it's all just so frustrating. But, like, there were wide open guys Pine overthrew for a touchdown. Like, he has not seen or over.
And that's not his fault.
It's what?
I'm not saying that's not his fault. I'm not suggesting that Pine is a perfect player and it's everyone else around him that's bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I feel like you say, with the talent that Pine has and the players that he has to throw the ball to, I feel like they're doing the best that they can. And that sucks because it's horrible. It's not good.
I feel like they're doing the best they can. That was funny how you said that. It's like, hey, man, I get it. I struggle with this. It's just, I think I honestly thought more work could get done on the plus side through the Stanford and UNLV week, building to the next two games than I saw. And that made me a little frustrated with the game. I thought there was an opportunity to pile it on, be more efficient when you're in the red zone, show you could do that kind of stuff. And we didn't. And it just kind of frustrated me. I'm glad we won by a lot. It's better than a loss. But the work I wanted to get done didn't all get done.
But we did some stuff that you wanted to do, right? I mean,
yeah,
we scored in the first quarter.
Yep, we did.
We had some turnovers and block time.
Yep.
Stuff like that. I mean, that's all stuff that we've been asking for that we got. Just because we're not putting up the numbers that Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama can put up on these small FCS schools doesn't mean we're not out there playing good football.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, we're out there playing great football.
Yeah, it's really hard, man. When I break something down or I'm doing something like that, what scope am I looking through it from, right? Like, there's small picture, big picture, ultimate big picture, national picture. I think my main point with that was, if you have Tennessee's offense, you're scoring 80 points in that game. Like, I just want to highlight how far away we are from a real nationally respectable offense. That was my ultimate point, was just making sure everybody knew how far away we are from that.
And we are very far away from that. I would say something that's probably going to come off as a little controversial, but the scope that we're looking through is the scope that everybody in college football looks through. Notre Dame, for whatever reason, which is why they're considered overranked every year, is held to a higher standard of play than any other team in college football. And it ain't close. Ohio State can go lose 2 points. Everybody go lose 2 games, and everybody in college football will make excuses for it. Notre Dame loses a couple games, and look, they're overrated. They suck. Every year, they never win the big games, even though the only games they lose to are the teams that end up winning the national championships anyways. So we're held to the standard, and we've got used to winning all these games against Kelly, with Kelly. So now that we seem to have hit a little rut, and I will remind you that every team goes through this. Not too long ago, Ohio State went 5-7 with similar situations. Brand new coach. They had to bench a lot of players, so they weren't playing their starters, and players that they were playing weren't healthy. They went 5-7 that year, and you know, that is what it is. I'm saying Notre Dame going through something like that. We have a brand new coach. We have some new players, some old players. You know, Drew Pines, obviously, first time starting as a quarterback in college football. We had Tyler Buckner, was the first time starting in college football as well. So we just got to we're all big picture people, and that's how we got to keep looking at this. Keep looking at this as big picture. Look, we're going to have to take a hit now. That is going to be what it is. We can't try to pretend like or try to act like we are a team that we're not. You know, does that make sense? I'm just saying that we will get to the level that we will get to, but unfortunately we have to start from the bottom.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The lens of like looking at what's reasonably practically realistic in the moment is different than big picture stuff. I get that. So what do you think happens?
People are writing off Notre Dame football right now because we lost a couple of
games. I know. It's there, and a lot of that's coming from our own fan base, by the way. Like, you're gonna get the outside. The outside stuff I expect to be trolled by LSU fans and all that. That's all happening in Michigan and Ohio State. I'm taking it every day. like, I kind of expected that, but whatever.
We lose a few games. If you want to be like a person like Kent and go be a bandwagon Ohio State fan, you go for it. Don't come back when we're competing for national championships and playoff fields in the next 3 years.
Yeah,
It was nice knowing you.
The one that I have problems with is people are already saying they're convinced they know Freeman's bad at this and he'll never figure it out. I don't know how anybody could know that after half of year one. Like, there's no way anybody can know that on the plus or the negative side. That's way too early to say, and I hold firm on that position.
I agree. I mean, Brian Kelly did inherit a pretty bad. See, Brian Kelly inherited a bad program. Marcus Freeman inherited bad players. So eventually Brian Kelly had to make the decisions to fire people to get people in there that could do what they needed to do. Marcus Freeman's going to have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Recruiting. Even if you keep Tommy Rees, fine, whatever. I don't understand how Notre Dame, for now, since apparently the beginning of time, can never land a 5-star quarterback.
Me neither.
Any talent at all. I don't get it.
I know.
Recruiting? Are they not? I know a lot of the big teams, Notre Dame doesn't do NIL like Ohio State does, right? Ohio State's signing blank checks. I know Notre Dame doesn't do that. I know it's different with NIL because it's very community service, very educational based.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something there.
Yeah, Notre Dame has no choice. They're going to have to expand that. And you know what else Notre Dame's going to have to do to compete? It's not an option. They're going to have to get more flexibility in the transfer situation.
100%.
They are going to have to. You are not going to be able to compete in an environment where other teams can flip out 24 guys and fill out a roster,
right,
and you're stuck with only the guys you recruit. And if 1 or 2 don't work out, you have a big hole. Like, Notre Dame's not going to be able to compete in that environment. I am not asking for 24 guys transferring in a year. If Freeman needs a handful, you build them a educational path to be able to make that reasonable. That needs to happen.
Right.
It does.
As far as Syracuse goes this week, I will say I feel like Notre Dame, for whatever reason, I commented last Friday, I believe it was. No, it was Monday, on how Notre Dame seems to make bad teams look good and good teams look bad. So BYU, for example, ranked team. UNC, which I believe is ranked now. Ohio State, all that talent. Ohio State couldn't do anything. So I'm pretty optimistic. I think even if we don't win, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. We seem to be able to play higher talented teams better than we can play lower talented schools. I don't know why that's the case. Is
it a little disturbing to you that we tend to play our best ball not at home? That's more than a little disturbing to me. It might work in our favor this week, but I still don't like that trend overall. It really rubs me the wrong way.
That's what could be my second thing. And I think it'll be an advantage that it's not a home game. So we seem to have no success playing at home. We go to other people's stadiums or go to a neutral ground, and that's when we play the best.
It's weird.
I hope the team that played Ohio State shows up. You know, there will not be another team all year that plays Ohio State better than Notre Dame did.
Yep.
So if that team can show up, I think we can win. I don't think it'll be a blowout on either side.
Me neither.
Syracuse is a good team. They played Clemson good. I think Clemson's biggest downfall is that Uga Unga kid. I just don't think he's the elite quarterback that people think he is. And I think that's what's hindered them this season. But, you know, they put the other kid in. They end up coming back in the fourth quarter to win. So Syracuse is obviously exposable. They can be ran all over. So if you don't trust Drew Pine, just start handing the ball off like we did in the fourth quarter against UNLV. And I think you might be surprised.
Yep, they ran it. Clemson had just under 300 yards on the ground. Will Shipley with most of it. So that's a path for Notre Dame, and it makes Pine's life a lot easier. If you could start establishing that run game, it'd make his life way easier. So I don't know.
Very important fast start. You got to get a fast start.
Yeah.
Syracuse started fast against Clemson. I think it was like 21-7 at half. You know, Clemson's the caliber of team that can come back and win that.
Yeah.
I don't think Notre Dame is. So Notre Dame can't be going down 2-3 touchdowns. You know, they can't go on a 24-0 unanswered points. Otherwise, they're going to get blown out. So if they play to what I think they can play, maybe even put in Jelly, I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Hey,
But
that's what I wanted to see the last couple
fall
weeks,
behind.
man. I wanted to see him get some meaningful reps, not like just handoff, like actually run the offense. So I don't know. But Notre Dame definitely has an opportunity here. Ranked team, one loss, like it's going to be a big game for them. Like Notre Dame has an opportunity to do something, and we'll see if they will. But as we wrap up, I want to tell you this. Feel free anytime. Call me again and push back on something I write or I say. It makes for good conversation. So I want to thank you for that. And feel free to do it anytime you want. That's what this forum's for. So thank you for doing that.
The last thing I will say is, again, the caliber. Don't forget, for everyone listening, that Notre Dame, we have a tough schedule this year. I don't care what anybody says. So we have a tough schedule. We're doing the best we can with the players that we have. You know, we're going to play a ranked UNC, a ranked Baylor, a ranked Ohio State. We're going to play a ranked Syracuse, if I didn't already say that, and a ranked USC. So we're doing the best with what we have. There's better things coming. So,
well, there you go. We'll see what happens up in the dome.
all right, John, thank you.
No problem. Have a good one. Thanks for the call. And I mean that. Anybody who wants to push back on on anything, give me a call. I'm not saying I got all the answers. I'm not saying every one of my opinions is right. I don't know. I like that he called and pushed back. I do. Some of that is semantic, but it's like when I say you should add 50 points at halftime, I mean a real elite offense has 50 points at halftime, and I just wanted to highlight how far away we are from that. That was my point with that. You have Tennessee's offense. You have 60-something points at halftime. I just wanted to highlight in that show how far we are away from that. All right, we got calls. 703-737-260-618-951. Let's go. 703, you're talking to me. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
What's going on, man?
I'm excited for this game. And the reason I'm excited for this game is that Notre Dame, we've always been playing better against the better teams. As you guys were in the last call, we're chatting about. Now, I'm actually excited about this. I know, like, it's frustrating because we don't play good against bad teams such as Stanford and Marshall. But, like, the thing is, under Kelly, we would never play this well against a good team. We would always, like, crown under pressure, especially against, like, Clemson and Alabama. So I actually think we're making progress. Even though this is a bad season, we are making progress in that matter. Do you think so?
I mean, it's so tough though, because it's kind of like any credit you gained for playing Ohio State tough, did you lose by what you did the week after it by playing a bad opponent so weak? Like, how do you balance those out? Like, I have a hard time really separating them and not having them somewhat be connected, where I'm like, yeah, you hung in tough with them, but then showed the next week against a bad team. So, like, it's just weird to me that you could be that up for one and then down for the other.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what Coach Freeman has got to do in the offseason. He's got to be able to balance it to make sure that they're up for both teams. But I don't know. This gives me it gives me hope, like, especially when we bring in our new guys, that we can get to that point where we can, like, win all of our games every year and then compete for a national championship. Because that's what we brought Marcus Freeman in to do, like, win a national championship within the time that we hired him. So I do think that this season overall has been disappointing, but I think it can be a start of the progress that we need to get back to where we were my dad's freshman year at college, winning the national championship.
What a great freshman year that would be. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
So let me ask this. You know, you said it's been a frustrating year. What's the number one thing you attribute to that? Like, there's a lot of causes. What do you think is the biggest cause of some of the stress and struggles we've had this year?
Well, I don't want to throw the guy under the bus, but Tommy Rees's offense, especially against Stanford, I think we got to change. Like, I rooted for the guy when I was younger. Like, I loved his Sun Bowl performance. I'm like, this guy's going to win the Heisman. But, like, like the too many interceptions, like ended his career as not what we hoped for. And I don't know, like I feel like maybe he could come back in a couple years. Like we could put in like 5 years once he gets there in the NFL and be the offense coordinator again at Notre Dame. But I think he just needs to take time away because this offense that we're watching, it's head scratching.
It is difficult. There is an argument to be made. Maybe Tommy's life would just be a lot easier and less stressful if he wasn't in the shadow of the dome. Like maybe his life would just be easier and more relaxing being an NFL quarterback coach somewhere. I don't know. And so, you know, it's tricky. But Notre Dame's got a good opportunity here the remainder of the season against some quality opponents. You think we're going to take advantage of it, or is this just going to go from ugly to uglier on the back end of the schedule? Double-edged sword, a lot of opportunity to get better and a lot of opportunity to look a lot worse. Which way is it going to tip?
Well, I definitely feel like it all really hinges on this game against Syracuse. Like, I feel like if we play like we did against North Carolina, we'll win. And Ohio State will win. Even if we play like BYU, we might squeak it out. And then for the other games, for the Clemson and Southern Cal, I don't know. I feel like if we win the Syracuse game, we'll like gain more confidence and be able to win. Maybe win the Syracuse and Southern Cal games. But if we lose, I don't know. I feel like it could be an effect on this team just kind of quit.
Yeah, and
I don't, which none of us want to happen.
My big thing, man, is I just don't know what team's going to show up. Like you said, there's been so many times where we look ready to play and then not. I just don't know what I can rely on or not. If Notre Dame goes in there and plays like the other caller said, I'll use his framework. If Notre Dame goes into this dome and plays as good as this team can play, they can win this game by 10 points easy. But they got to go in there and play really solid ball on both sides and just do some very basic things very well. And I think you end up in a close game where Notre Dame can maybe establish the run and play keep away a little bit. Like there's reasonable paths here for Notre Dame to win this game and win it by a touchdown or more. I just don't know if I trust him to do it. I just don't know if I trust him to do it. I've just seen too much inconsistency.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping that since we're playing a ranked team away, like what I don't know if North Carolina was ranked, that basically made the team play the best that they could play. So I'm really hoping that's what it is, and not how we played against the bad teams.
Yeah, it does help that Notre Dame's played best in this environment, a middle upper tier team away from South Bend. All of those games have been Notre Dame's best. Maybe there's something to that. I hate it because we don't defend our home turf anymore. As much as I hate it, it might help this week. And if you could find a way to squeak this out, you might inject some life into that place next week when Clemson comes. And I'll be there for that. And I want it to be built up and feel like something. Not a funeral either, by the way.
If we lose this game, I just fear that people are going to start selling their tickets to Clemson fans, and it'll be like Georgia all over again.
That might already happen. That might have already happened, man. We already have a few losses. I bet you a lot of that is already going on. But I'll know when I'm there. I know that those percentages, and I'll know what their allotment is versus how many we gave them. You know what I mean? In that seating area there, I'll know because they have their little corner. And whenever you see more than that little corner, you know that's our people selling their tickets. So we'll know right away.
Yeah.
Going to see a bunch of orange in there.
It's frustrating. I'm like, God. Yeah, it's like, guys, this is a big game. This is the time to support your team, not to just sell the tickets.
And it's going to be cold. It's going to be a night game. Notre Dame has a few losses. All those things come into play. But I'm just going to be happy to be there and see my people. So, I don't know. Thanks for the call, man. We'll see what happens. There's a path there. I could definitely see Notre Dame winning this game by 10 points. It's just you got to do the right things, and I don't know if we will.
Thanks, man. I'll see you there.
Thanks a lot, man. We'll see you. Take care. Did he say he'll see me there? He's going to the Clemson game with me? Let's ride, baby. Oh, man. Let's see this. 737, you're up next. Brett. Oh, by the way, guys, again, I apologize. I lost internet completely. The phone lines still work when I was talking to John, but I lost the whole screen went blank. It says you're not connected to the internet, no access. 2 minutes later, it came back. If you're late in this thread and you see it, skip through 2 minutes and you'll find it. Oh, boy. Brad Johnson, Michigan is a powerhouse. I think they beat Ohio State this year, go to the playoff championship game. They might not be getting the recruits, but they have one hell of a coach. Listen, Harbaugh's doing a good job this year, but I am not letting this discussion go by without acknowledging they have the easiest schedule in all of America. I'm sorry. With Notre Dame having that schedule, even the way we play, we might still be undefeated. I don't know. Like, maybe that's an exaggeration, but they are seriously I'm not exaggerating. I think it was up until last week, dead last in strength of schedule. All right. They have not been adequately tested for me to make an opinion on them. They have not been. They have not been adequately tested and might not be till their last game of the year. That's the way I see it. So good for Harbaugh, but it helps that you have the weakest schedule in America to feast off of. It really does help. Oh, now people are saying Ohio State's gonna beat Michigan. Let me ask this, Kent, Greg, all you guys. If both those teams are undefeated, what happens to the loser in that game? Playoff-wise, big picture-wise, because then you're not going to be, right? You're not going to be in the Big Ten championship game, but you'd have one loss. What's going to happen with whoever loses that game if they're both undefeated? And also, I lost my train of thought. Brad Johnson, I would rather have Harbaugh than Freeman. Never in a million years. I think Harbaugh's a nice guy. He's a family guy. He is just a weirdo. He is just a weirdo. And Kelly is a weirdo. And I just got done with weirdos. I do not want any more weirdos. Kelly was weird. Harbaugh's weird. I don't know if he's connected to reality. I get it. They're winning football games right now. But I have more comfort with a head coach that I think lives on earth. I'm not sure Kelly does all the time. He creates his own realities. And Harbaugh, I am not being rude. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Harbaugh might be on the spectrum a little bit. He's on some spectrum a little bit. Some of the ways he thinks are not natural. That he's touched a little bit. But good family man, respectable guy. As a guy, fine. He's weird. Just a weird dude. 737. What's going on today?
John, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you today? What's on your mind?
Did a few meetings this morning. Get all done with that. Working, listening to you, kind of going through all of it. Man, I appreciate it. You guys, you started off with a ton of fire, making me laugh. And then, of course, I probably my takeaway from the show thus far is Harbaugh on the spectrum.
I'm sorry. He's touched. There's something, man. You can look at the guy. He's touched. There's something there. The wiring's just a little off, but I do think he's a good guy, good family man, whatever. But I just think he's weird.
Yeah, that'll keep me going today. Hey, I've been calling in, I think, quite a bit. It's nice to be able to vent out a little bit, share some of those concerns. I think, a few things that I've been hearing kind of this week is, hey, what are we looking at right now? We got Syracuse. I think somebody said it before, Syracuse, I think yesterday I looked at it, was 2.5, maybe 3 now. We got an early game. I think for me, I'm in Texas. This game's starting at 11. But super early, how these guys going to get up for it? I'd love to hear your opinion. Maybe you're more in line with a few things. I've been hearing a lot about Angeli this week. He came in last week. He was there. I mean, he was standing on the field.
Yeah.
Didn't really do anything, right? But all of a sudden, we're hearing a lot of talk. You think we're going to see him a little bit?
Hey.
Or, are they just, is it just kind of talk?
You know what? Here's the first thing. I had dinner with my parents last night, and my dad said to me, I'm glad you brought this up. My dad said to me, you know what? Something bugged me that I think people are missing from the game. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And you're wondering the way I am. Look at the way my dad is. You know what I mean? And he goes, they put Angeli in. We all wanted to see Angeli. They put him in, and they're going in to score. And then they do the tight end under center, and then they hike it to him, and he goes in and scores. And my dad's going, two things. One is, why don't you save that creative play for Clemson or USC and let Angeli handle the ball for a touchdown if you're going to put him in? And then you could save that trick play and get Angeli the confidence to get his hand on the damn ball. So that's a small picture thing. Angeli is bigger than Pine, a lot bigger, has a little more physical upside, but he doesn't have the experience. So then do you complicate all of this if you then throw him in the mix, and then you have Buckner already out, then you have his replacement, but then we're mixing in another guy? Like, does it get to just be too much is where my mind goes. Does that all get to just be too much of a cluster to navigate? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we see him. I just hear a lot of people talking about him, but it's like, man, we're talking a lot about a guy who came in and kind of just stood there for, I would say, 2 plays, I think it was. Maybe even just the one play. So I don't know if we're going to see Angeli. In terms of Buckner, I don't.
A lot of people, hey man, a lot of people think he's done in Notre Dame. I've had a lot of people tell me the injuries and with the developments push back, and like he just might want a fresh start. A lot of Notre Dame people think he's done.
I don't disagree. I mean, if you look about it, if you go back and you think about the amount of time that he's been here, before he got here, he didn't play his junior season in high school because he was injured. Senior season was COVID. He came here, he got hurt where Pine had to come in for a game as a third stringer at one point in time. I think it was versus Wisconsin. Then over spring, I think he hurt himself like falling down some stairs or something like that. And then of course he's not playing in the spring game. And he just doesn't have a track record of being dependable in terms of injuries. And not to say that he's not a great guy or a great athlete, but sometimes your body just doesn't have the ability to take that kind of punishment. And again, like I said, if you're falling down a step and hurting your ankle and you can't play, I just don't see him being a long-term option. So I don't disagree at all. I think he is probably done. You may see him transfer out. But again, in terms of longevity, I just don't see it. So I don't think that's the thing. I think the biggest problem that we're seeing right now, you got a lot of people talking about what we're seeing. Hey, what Marcus Freeman inherited was a good team. You got people saying that they're playing to their strengths right now with the people that they have. And correct me if I'm wrong, but recruiting class for 2022 was number 6, right?
Yeah, I think it was up there. But
so
see, but my
recruiting class, do you know what recruiting class was for 2021?
But my issue is some of the biggest spots are where those recruiting classes were not strong that are causing us problems the last few years. Like that's the issue.
Sure.
That's the issue. Like you have these well-rounded classes, but the problem is where they're not really good or really killing us. Like multiple problems with wide receiver recruiting and retention and development is a problem. Like the quarterback thing, those classes ended up good. It's just that some of the key parts are still missing from them.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm going with it, and like you look at the classes that we've had, the recruiting classes. Obviously last year was probably one of the better ones. Freeman just got on staff. We saw an increase in recruiting, certainly on the defensive side. But then you kind of look at, we'll say, hey, what's everybody been talking about? Wide receivers being, let's say, worse or not producing as much this year as they were last year, certainly for some if you got to look at it. If if your quarterback is keying on one person specifically all game, even if they're, Mays in triple coverage and Pine throwing to him, these guys, hey, I want you to be out there. I want you to be motivated. I want you to get open. But you see them open, and they're thinking, hey, I'm going to do this every play, but not possibly get the ball. I just don't see. I think if we want to talk about the wide receiver group, we got to engage them a little bit. I do think, like, if as far as Styles go, that kid drops so much balls, he shouldn't be out there at all. But in terms of others being open, if you see a guy that's totally open, I think it was Chris Tyree. I know he's a running back, but he's open at one point, and the overthrow. I think Braden Lindsey was open at one point in time too, and it was just so. If you're looking at that, I don't see the motivation for the wide receiver group. Like, we got to get those guys we got to get them involved, and if they're not going to be involved, to expect them to play 100% every game, I think it's a fantasy.
You know what I think about? I think about this all the time with wide receivers playing with, in the NFL and college, wide receivers playing with quarterbacks that aren't great, or even offensive lines and quarterbacks that aren't great. Like you said, how much do I want to run out there, make my break, win my route, be open, and either not get it seen or have it overthrown? How many times do you want me to do that before I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm going 80% on this route, because you never find me when I'm open or can throw me the ball anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. We're talking about these guys, and again, I don't think it's a great group. But if the quarterback play is a little bit better, we open it up a little more. We include them a little more, get them a little bit more. Maybe they're playing with a little bit more fire. Maybe they're trying. And I think I've been seeing it. What people have been saying. Hey, I think somebody's saying sit Mayer in practice all week.
Yeah, that's what I just put up.
I've been hearing that from a ton of people. I think it's a great idea. But, if Pine could just kind of key in on a few other things. So, all in all, I think Syracuse is a toss-up. Can we win? Absolutely.
Yep.
A big game for them. Are they going to be reeling from losing to Clemson?
That's a big question, man. We talk all the time about potential Notre Dame hangovers after like a physical game or a rivalry game or tough travel, whatever. Does that come into play for Syracuse at all? A physical, tough game, you lost it, you were winning most of the game. And then you're coming into this game not being a night game, it's a midday game. It shouldn't be a crazy loud environment. They don't have all day to drink and get cranked up. And they just coming off a tough loss. So I don't think the environment should intimidate Notre Dame.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, I know you got a ton of people probably waiting and, kind of want to just call in and share my thoughts on the wide receiver group. I got a question for you, though. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I listened to quite a bit about Notre Dame. I've been a fan, forever. I could remember, jumping up and down on my bed as a little kid, when the Rocket ran back his touchdown versus Colorado. Then immediately he got called back, and I'm like, devastated. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or beating Florida State but losing to Boston College. Notre Dame has never been easy, right? But one of the things I find, and maybe I think your show is a little different. The reason I like it, the criticisms are not always great in some of the other shows that I think maybe are tied to Notre Dame. Do you feel that there's other shows out there that refrain from being critical of Notre Dame because they're aligned to Notre Dame?
Here's the way I look at it. Depending on the outlet, depending on who it is. Like if it's an independent Notre Dame blog, you can do whatever you want. But what I've learned is, and it makes perfect sense, people that do shows that have a lot of access, meaning they're in an interview room, asking tough questions, that kind of thing. The people that are in that circle, they're always going to have certain things they can't go to or go as hard as they want because you lose your access. This was a thing with Kelly. People, a lot of those media guys wanted to say a lot more to Kelly or about Kelly, and it all came out once he left. And it frustrated me. Right when Kelly left, all these insiders were starting to say, yeah, by the way, everybody told me the guy wouldn't get off his ass and recruit and go visit quarterbacks. But it all came out after Kelly left. There is a part of You don't want to piss off the guys that give you access to do your job. And that is very tough. And I don't blame those guys because it's an awkward dynamic. There were things they wanted to nail Kelly for, but just didn't because you're worried Kelly's never going to call on you in a press conference again. You might lose your credential if you go after the head guy. Like, those are legitimate concerns that other entities have to deal with. I do not have that constraint, which frees me up to be more direct. But on the downside, I don't have the access those guys have. And there's value to having access and being in that interview room. So there is a give and a take with it. But one of the things I love the most is my freedom. I will never agree to join with a bigger entity or anything if I don't have complete control of my content. 100%, I need to be able to say what I need to say. So that's kind of how I see it. Some of those guys don't have a choice, man. They got to kind of smooth things out just to make sure their access is good and they don't piss off Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, listen, I appreciate the criticisms. I think there are some that are extremely valid. And you brought up, I was listening to another show and somebody had brought up a criticism and they kind of got stopped in their tracks. And I was sitting there and I said, yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't always want to hear the sunshine and the rainbows. But you bring me to my last piece, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Recently, over the last few days, you know, I think, and you've talked about it. This is having what we're seeing. You know, 3-3, 4-3, struggling. You know, a lot of stuff that's happening. It's certainly affecting recruiting. I know that there's people who kind of bounced out before all this kind of really happened, but you know, recently you're hearing about Peyton Bowen, who's a big 5-star commit. Is now, you know, he visited Oregon. Oregon's killing it with Bo Nix, that kid that came from Auburn, and he's doing a great job. For somebody that I thought was struggling, you could see the difference in the program. But now you got, he's going to visit there. He's going to go visit Michigan. I feel like we're starting to lose ground in the recruits, and this Syracuse game is going to be like, this is a put up or shut up moment. Like we need to play strong here.
Yeah, it's tough. 951-618, you're the next two up. Here's what I'll say about that. I am really struggling with this. You're hitting on it, and I'm really struggling on it. Here's how I looked at this entering the year. Entering the year, I said, this may be a little rougher in the season this year than any of us want. And I had fears that the roster Kelly left had more holes than a lot of people wanted to admit. And I was open to the idea that we may have to take 1 or 2 steps back with Freeman in the early stages to ultimately end up 3 or 4 steps ahead down the road. My theory was, even if it's a struggle on the field and we lose a dumb game to somebody we shouldn't lose to or something, I needed that recruiting to stay top 5-ish or better while all those struggles are going on the field. I need that recruiting to be top 5 or better cooking while these struggles on the field are going on. Then in a couple years, Freeman's a more established head coach, has a better feel of that, get stabilized with the staff and everything, and then you have those good recruits coming in. What I cannot have is you're not good on the field to the point where the recruiting isn't either. Then you're in between. Then you're in a nightmare. That is my biggest fear right now. Then you're in the middle. Elite winning breeds elite recruiting. Elite recruiting breeds elite winning. You cannot exist perpetually in between both. You can't, and we do.
Yeah. Let me.
You can't live between both. We live between both. You either need one or the other. Elite winning to where it gets you the elite recruits, or find a way to get the elite recruits and then get the winning, and then the cycle continues. Notre Dame's right in the middle, and you're going to die. You're going to die in the middle. You got to figure out one of those paths or the other. We live in the middle, and you can't. You can't exist there forever, and we've been there too long.
We've certainly been there for QB. Last thought, I'd love to hear, you know, I coming into this year, you know, obviously Ohio State game, obviously the Clemson game, maybe USC to a degree after they got Lincoln Riley. You know, those were going to be big games. And I wasn't it's not like, hey, I know we're gonna win these things, or this is going to be, so great. We got a tough schedule. We get a tough schedule every year. I think that the thing that's affecting Notre Dame quite a bit is I don't understand how, and this is where I think a lot of disappointment from a lot of people is coming, is the expectations set like number 5 in the polls to start off the year with a brand new head coach, with a brand new defensive coordinator, with having a person who's a brand new quarterback who was a backup last year. I think the polls were inflated, and I think that inflation gave everybody a false sense of, hey, we're going to be really, really good this year. And then it doesn't happen, and everybody's really pissed because we're seeing, hey, we were ranked 5th.
Yeah,
open up this year.
I get it, but at the same time, I always say this: we're all frustrated with where we're at right now. But I did these shows in the summer saying I see our ranking, and I am still telling you I am nervous about this roster, and I feel that there are really weak areas, a lot weaker than any of us want to think. And I remember saying, I would not be surprised if we lost some dumb game we have no business losing in the middle of figuring this all out. Turns out it's been more than one, and it's turning into a real problem. But my ultimate big picture issue is this cannot start eroding the recruiting efforts, because then you're in no man's land, and then you're neutered in the one area Freeman was supposed to be best at right off the bat. Ultimately, you need him to learn how to be a great head coach. But you were baking in that elite recruiting while he was learning. If you're not getting that too, now we're in a real problem. And if Bowen goes for Nike money at Oregon, you have problems. I don't like this. You're in a tough spot.
Yeah, we're in a real tough spot. I think, you listen to the people that call into your show, the people that are chatting it up and all that stuff. I don't think anybody's surprised at what we're seeing, or at least had better expectations about what the possibilities were on the downside this year. I think it's, though, if you're a recruit and you're saying, hey, I'm getting recruited to this number 5 Notre Dame team, and then they come out and they're shit in the bed, ultimately that's going to have a larger effect. So, hey, appreciate you, John. Always love the show. I find myself listening more and more, trying to hit all of them, but appreciate what you do. Like I said, love the energy, and keep drinking that coffee, man. I don't know what kind of coffee you're drinking in the morning, but I think we'll all take some of it.
I don't know what happened today. I just got a burst of energy, but thanks for the call. Glad you appreciate the content. We're not going anywhere, man. We're going to struggle through this and hopefully end up on one of these years. We'll have a show celebrating, and it'll all be worth it, all this stress. So we're going to make it together, man. Enjoy the game this week.
Thanks, John. Go Irish, man. Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Man, what a nice guy. I have some nice callers. Tell you that right now. Nice people. Somebody said, I need to have somebody monitoring the chats and put up. I think there's a way I could do a moderator thing so that frees me up to focus on the calls and the other stuff. But I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean, sometimes I get distracted trying to talk to people and look at the screen, monitor all that, and the chat. It's just a lot at times. Oh, let's see. $951. Let's have a little fun. You're up.
John, love to see how busy the chat and the stream is getting. This is awesome.
I like seeing it too, man. The more people, the better. Even the ones that troll me a little bit, it's still good for the ecosystem. Welcome to everybody.
Definitely. I mean, I think it brings in some good takes on different people. I mean, I love what the last caller talked about. I mean, I think at the beginning of the season, I think Notre Dame drank its own Kool-Aid, believed we were number 5, didn't think we had to put in that big of work. And then when we got punched in the face, they got a little surprised by it.
Yep. I think that's actually a good way to look at it. Doesn't it feel to you like, even in the loss to Ohio State, it was like, all right, we can hang with them. That means by default, we can roll the ball out and beat Marshall by 30. And you found out the hard way. No.
Yep.
That's what it felt like to me. That's the worst part about these home losses is it offends me that we acted like you could just roll the ball out there. And because you're under the shadow of the dome and you're at home, you're going to win. It offends me, but that's how it felt. It felt like they thought they could do that, and it upsets me.
in the offseason, you got Marcus Freeman with Mike Mayer and Isaiah Foskey making, the spoofs from The Hangover for the BYU game. You got all this talk about how big the line is. And then, when it comes time to show up and put up, they just goose egg out there.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. And it's just, I'm getting real concerned about this recruiting stuff. You cannot have that turn on you as well. You got to put it together the last quarter of this season, because if I'm not getting elite on-field results, and I don't even have the elite recruiting to look for as the future of hope, you're literally in no man's land in college football then. And so that's where the danger zone is for me, right in between, where you're not getting either one of those done, because then what is the path out? I was fine one step back with Freeman this year with the idea that a top 5 recruiting class was coming. And then, oh, by the way, another one was coming after that the year after it. Like, I got to get that if you're not going to win on the field right now. I'm nervous. You can't end up in the middle with neither.
Yeah, and you know what, John, I'm almost certain these next 2 games, I don't think they're going to look that good. I mean, I can see us losing by at least 7 to Syracuse and probably a good double digits to Clemson. Not because of anything else. The only thing that really scares me is the fact that Tommy Rees decided to play all of his cards on the table for UNLV, a UNLV team that was out there without their star quarterback, without a defensive, I think, linebacker and their receiver. And you want to then if you didn't play your RPOs, and like your dad was saying, you do your trick play that we should have held in for a Syracuse Clemson game, and you show all of your cards on the table. You should have left the RPO that we don't run that and surprise Syracuse. You should have left that little tight end, he takes the snap, and left that for Clemson. But you played against a UNLV team where we already have the lead on them, and we don't need a touchdown to win their game.
Yeah, man, it's so frustrating. But to respond to your point, what if the staff felt like, well, we just laid an egg against Stanford at home. We just need to make sure we win this one, pull out all the stops. But again, that's a dark place to be. I don't want to be in that place. It's dark there, man.
Yeah, and then with John, though, I mean, would a 3-point win over UNLV feel any better than it did after the game? And then and if we come out and we win that game because of that tight end sneak against the Syracuse or Clemson, isn't that going to feel a little bit better, though?
Yeah, it's just, man, this is all just so frustrating. I get it. Like, UNLV, were you happy with the result? Like, when it ended, were you like, awesome, my team played a great game? Was that the feeling you had?
No.
What? Okay,
nope.
Tell me what your feeling was then. We won by 23 at home, won a football game, wasn't that close. What were you feeling?
I felt like, okay, it's I think you said it earlier, you can just see the like miles from other teams in the higher, like in college football, are playing at versus what we're playing at. Like, our receivers, like, not scheming them to get open, and Drew Pine, like, it wasn't like it was a, terrible worst quarterback ever, but just the throws he had that he missed, well, those were just god awful. I mean, like, you throw it into the stands when you're trying to hit Lindsey, you miss another, like, easy just dump off into the end zone with another one, and it's just, man, like, I think it's just more to the disgust of the look of the offense versus like the point. Like, I mean, you've said it in other shows, like the points at the end, the yards that we played, like those numbers, those statistics, those are nothing. Just the way that we looked was just terrible.
Like, that's where I get mixed up, because there's the score and the yardage, and then there's how it looked to me. And I know I said in my post-game show, I know what I'm looking for when I'm looking for an electric, modern, good offense. And you can't see it from where we're at. Well, you can't see it from where we're at. And it's a long-term problem. Can't be fixed overnight. Can't be fixed this year. But but it's just nowhere near where I wanted it. And I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. That was my point. Even in a 23 win,
No.
even in a 23-point win, I felt it was important that people knew this still isn't what it should look like. That was my overall point. Sorry, it just was. 6 possessions in the red zone in the first quarter. You should have a lot of points. I do not think I'm out of line for suggesting that.
I agree. I think that it would have been easy if we would have played. Like, there has to be a standard of play that Notre Dame, it's still Notre Dame, that we play at to a certain caliber when you're watching that team. Like, when Texas and Alabama played against each other and Notre Dame played at the same time, I found myself wanting to watch the Alabama-Texas game more because of the assignment on offense versus our mediocre offensive and defensive play.
Yeah, it's so. What do you make the rest of this year, man? What do you think is the best case on the high end, and then on the low end, how this is going to go and how it might affect recruiting in 23 and hell 24 too? What do you see as the potential outcome here, this final run?
I can see us Navy. I think we can take Navy, because I honestly don't foresee us taking Syracuse, or I don't foresee us taking Clemson and USC. I think that the offense and the coaches on those teams will coach up a team better than I think we can right now. I think we can with Boston College. They have too many hiccups, so I think we've got another 2 wins coming up, and that's it. But John, question for you though on this. Even if we win out the entire rest of our games, won't that give Tommy Rees a platform to stand on and say, even with the bowl game win, a 10-win season is pretty good to keep him around? Like, I honestly would maybe rather see more losses to get Tommy out of there.
If you bring up a really good question. If he beats Syracuse, Clemson, and USC, it takes a ton of heat off of them. Like, that's just the way fans are. Like, if you're able to win those 3 games, it would take a lot of the heat off. But it would be justified. It would be justified, though, not like swinging fan emotion one play to the next. If he actually beat 3 really solid teams, Syracuse, Clemson, USC, that would mean the offense looks way, way better and is way more consistent. And then I will not be as hard on him if I see that as I have been so far. The issue is, what are the odds that that's what we're going to get? Is my question. Like, what I want to have that problem, man. I want to have that discussion of first half of the year, crap. Second, final quarter of the year, awesome. How do we reconcile this? I would love to have that talk. I hope we get there.
Yeah, I would be more concerned that does happen. And I don't see it happening, I would be more concerned of us winning the rest of the games, winning our bowl game, going into at the end of the season, Marcus Freeman going up on the platform, talking about, the progression and how, you have your highs and lows, keeping Tommy Rees, and us being on this merry-go-round again next season with the quarterback progression and wide receiver progression and the play calls that we have again.
Yep. You gotta. This is hard, and it's a lot to ask of Marcus. However, the rest of this year ends, the second that game is over in USC, they're going to recruit, because that's always what the staff does on that West Coast trip on Thanksgiving week when it's away. Stay out there and recruit.
Yep.
Then when you get back, I need a total breakdown of what is working in the program, trending in the right direction, and I need a list of what is holding us back, where, how, and why, and I need them addressed. Marcus has to know this. He has to know things aren't looking right. He has to know there's some things with the coaching staff that isn't working right and clicking. But I just fear that we're in this week-to-week meat grinder now, that some of these issues are bigger picture that can't be fixed right now. And we need to find a way to crawl to the end so then he could take a bigger picture look and then address things. But you are right. Somebody put on the screen, USC 56, Notre Dame 24. That happens. I ain't eating Thanksgiving dinner. You killed my appetite for the holiday. Not interested anymore. No, I'm serious.
I mean, the best.
We'll just cancel Thanksgiving because I'm not going to be in the mood. Like, that can't happen. But I can't have Freeman get up there at the end of this, man, and go, hey, you know what? Better execution next year. We're going to bring this all back, and you're just going to get better execution next year. I'm going to execute myself. Like, no.
Yes.
He cannot get up there and say that after this year, one of those, we're just going to run it all back, but we're going to execute better next year. No one is going to react well to that. Most definitely me. That cannot be the answer.
No. I mean, and I think the good positive that we see out of this is even when Marcus Freeman in the post game versus UNLV, he was up there and he looked frustrated. If he would have went up there with champagne coming off of his forehead and he's just excited, like he just woke up on Christmas Day, then I would be concerned. But you can tell that he knows he's frustrated because of the way his team is playing, and there's something wrong with it, which gives me hope for our next coming season.
Yeah. That's it. It's a good point, man. I just, there's so many parts of this that aren't quite where I need them to be. And there's no easy fixes and there's no quick fix. And it's just all driving me. It's all just driving me absolutely nuts. I'm not even prepared to talk about what the USC game means to me this year. I'm not even prepared yet to have that discussion, how important it is to me. You don't let that rivalry we've owned the last handful of years flip. Year one, Lincoln Log is in town, and we just bend over, and then they have the strength of that rivalry again right away. Year one, I hate it. That can't happen. I hate it.
I told my dad for years, I don't care if we goose egg every game of the season. If we go out and we win SC, it was a win for me. I can't stand that team.
Yeah, it always bothers me how two fans show up for every other home game, and then Notre Dame's in town, and then they sell it out and they act like they're all there every week. The whole thing rubs me the wrong way, and it's going to be a very, very, very bad look to end a already rough year, no matter what happens between now and USC. To end that year with a loss to them, man, that's rough. And there's just no way Freeman could sell. We're just going to execute better next year, but run it all back. That isn't going to fly, is it? Like, is that going to fly? No. I'm going to lose my mind if he says that after this year.
So, John, question for you. With this game coming up, if Pine decides to, goose egg it and not show up, do you play Angeli with the chance of getting the kid hurt out there?
How can you... If Pine isn't getting it done and you're in this desperate situation, you don't have a choice but to play Angeli then. Like, you don't. And I know I was at the Blue and Gold game. It doesn't matter whether you were there or watching on TV, but looking at it live, I thought Angeli looked like he had a smoother, more comfortable grasp on the offense than Buckner or Pine. But he doesn't have any reps. So then you're going to throw him in the mix with no reps. Yeah, with the bigger body than Pine, but also with no reps and with the inherited wide receiver issues. How much is reasonable to expect out of him before people start going, now he's no good either? We're in a vacuum of frustration.
Definitely. And do you think if he goes in there, he lays another goose egg, and I'm talking about Angeli, if he decides that, maybe this program isn't for me, and decides to hit that transfer portal too?
Man, this is so sad. We're like down to our third guy, then our fourth guy. Next, we're going to have to see what Ronnie Paulus IV has. Like, why can't, I'm going to blow your mind. Why can't Notre Dame just have good quarterbacks? Why?
You know what?
Why can't Notre Dame just have good quarterbacks? You come into the year and our guy is really, really good. We can trust him to make the throws to win our biggest games. We're going to build some talent around him, and it's all going to be good. Why can't we ever be in that position?
Lazy recruiting.
Well, Marcus isn't a lazy recruiter, but it looks like we're getting our guys chopped off left and right. He's not lazy, and it's still going to happen. It's hard to get ahead if you're Notre Dame, man. It's hard to get ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that these next coming years, I think, here's a question. Here's another question for you, John, actually coming. So why is it that we're Notre Dame huge name in the college football world, why is it that we always go after the small-time coaches?
You mean like for assistants and whatnot?
Yes. I mean, Marcus Freeman. I mean, you're telling me there was nobody else above Marcus Freeman who was out there, who had a name, who we couldn't grab. There's no one else for a Tommy Rees who we couldn't go out there and grab as a coach.
But see, that's complicated. But that's complicated. That would be a different discussion if Tommy wasn't already in the program and went to Notre Dame, and then Rees looked at all these guys and picked Tommy. But the fact that he's a Notre Dame guy and was already in the program was a lot to do with this. And I get the idea of maintaining the continuity of the Notre Dame line and that consistency from the old era to the new. I get all that. But look around your TV every Saturday. There's 50 other offensive coordinators that could probably get more out of this offense.
Yeah.
Even the way it is. And with the struggles it has, I still think there's plenty of guys that can find ways to get more creative and come up with more effective offense. I do. I think that.
Yeah. And then I wanted to get your take on this. Maybe, I was watching, the Mike Singer, Mike Gouldsby last night, and, I heard something that I wasn't sure of, and I thought maybe, John, you knew more about this than I do. He was, Gouldsby was talking about how there's 60 analysts on Alabama's staff, and Notre Dame has 0. Why is that?
Just not the way Notre Dame's structured. It's just not. I even heard along those lines when Freeman got hired, one of the first things he did was tell that recruiting department, you need to expand, not only into a bigger space, but you need to hire more people so we could get more done. And they've been, I don't know, man, maybe Notre Dame doesn't value that the same Alabama does. You're not going to tell me it's a money issue. I'm never listening to Notre Dame, any issue with Notre Dame not having the money to do something. Like, no. But I had that complaint with the recruiting department. Kelly's last few years, same discussion you're talking about. And they were saying Ohio State has 4 times as many people in the recruiting office as Notre Dame. How could you ever expect to compete with that?
Yes.
They need to catch up. They need to catch up.
Defensive coordinators. Yep. And I mean, when you're asking just an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator to look through film and kind of analyze these people when they got another 10 people in their room doing the exact same things, I mean, it kind of gives us a big disadvantage. But I mean, I think you've said it on your show. Tommy Rees doesn't play well with others. So I didn't know if it was a Tommy Rees thing or if it's just we don't want to get out there and get some other analysts. Yeah,
it would just seem like a good idea to me. And the other thing is, if Rees ends up staying after this year, it needs to be a given that he accepts there's going to be a senior analyst there with a lot of experience, a la David Cutcliffe, someone like that, to watch over him and help steer things from going off the deep end, because Tommy obviously couldn't do that on his own this year. So he can't get offended if they go, if you're staying here and this is your last shot, fine. But you proved you can't take care of this when you're left alone and it's all you, because we're losing dumb games. So if he does come back, there needs to be some oversight. And it isn't Marcus, because Marcus isn't an offensive guy. You got to bring in one of those guys, and Tommy's going to have to be open to it if he returns at all. I'm telling you, I think the most likely thing would be Tommy has NFL aspirations, amicable breakup. He goes to be a quarterback coach. Marcus gets fresh eyes on the offense. Tommy gets out of the shadow and the pressure of the dome. We all go our separate ways, and everybody ends up in a better spot that's more palatable for them.
John, I think you hit it on the Ouija board right there. I think you got a crystal ball, because I can almost foresee that happening at the end of the season too. It looks like a promotion for Tommy Rees.
Yep.
We kind of shake his hand, talk him up to the next team that he's going to.
Exactly.
And, we say hello to the next guy.
Yep. And it's like, thank you for your Notre Dame service. Like, and it looks like a promotion. You're going to the big leagues. But behind the scenes, Marcus is frustrated. Tommy's frustrated. Nobody's really that happy. I could see it feeling suffocating for Tommy playing there, quarterback there. Now all this heat, that is just a lot. Might just be better for everybody to get new eyes on a new situation. Could be healthy for Tommy. Thanks for your Notre Dame service, but we all need to try something new, and we all end up ahead. So I think that is the most likely outcome, to be honest with you.
Yep. I couldn't agree more, John. I love the show. I want to let some other callers get in. I'd love to see how crazy the chat's going and how many calls you get. I'm just excited for the show. It's always been good, John.
Appreciate that. Thanks a lot, man. Give me a call again.
Yep. Go Irish.
Go Irish. Oh, $5 holler, Dan Mohler, 224-734. Last two callers of the day coming up. I would bench Mayer this week of practice and force Pine to throw to anyone else. We all know what's coming on third down, and so does Syracuse. Listen, folks, it should not be lost on us that after the hot start numbers-wise Pine had against North Carolina and BYU, maybe teams figured out how easy that offense is to defend, and then they changed things. There's a reason, you guys. Pine's completion percentage went from 75% against North Carolina and BYU all the way down to 49% in the last two games. 49 to 75. That is a big drop-off in production in the one area Drew Pine has to be good at to be effective. He ain't fast. He ain't big. He doesn't have a strong arm. The only thing he has is making good decisions and being accurate. Going from 75% to under 50, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And that has to be changed ASAP. 224, give me some more. What's going on today?
John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Lively program today. Where do you fall on all these topics?
Well, I've been listening to some of your callers, and I don't know if some of them have been smoking crack lately or what, but I've heard some outrageous things.
Man, that would be a rough breakfast, but I'd love to hear your beefs. Let's hear them. Yeah, that's a rough breakfast, but it'll get you going.
It'll definitely get you going. Let's start with one. Pine's just garbage. We're at a loss for anything with Pine. I don't care. The coaches, Tommy, saying he can make all the passes. That's been proven incorrect week after week. Either he's throwing a short screen 10 yards out at somebody's feet, or he's overthrowing somebody on a mid-level pass, or he's completely underthrowing on the deep shots. So I don't think he can make all the throws. That's one. Two, with the receivers, a few callers back said, he's not throwing anybody but Mayer because the receivers can't catch the ball. Well, I'll say this. If I'm a receiver out there and I don't ever get targeted, and then all of a sudden you finally decide to throw one to me, you're going to catch me off guard most likely. And hell, I'm probably going to drop the pass too because I wasn't expecting it. Everybody's expecting everything to go to Mayer. So,
but that's such a bad place to be, though, man. Where is your entire operation overall when these are the things we have to talk about, man? It just shouldn't be this hard to run a functionable offense. It just shouldn't.
No.
Shouldn't have to go through all this.
Should. And unfortunately, I do agree with there was too much preseason hype. And I think all of that was because everybody was so excited, me included, about the hire of Marcus Freeman or the promotion to head coach. I mean, we all saw something in him last year, something that he brought to Notre Dame that we haven't seen in forever, and that was aggressive recruiting, getting higher quality guys.
Yep.
And I think that made all of us that are Notre Dame fans get so damn excited. I still feel like he's going to be a successful head coach. But really, you look at any program, there's an exception here or there. But no matter how good they are, if they switch head coaches, they always have some sort of a fall off. And the only real exception I would say that's recent might be Lincoln Lincoln Riley this year, but I mean, look, he's completely flipped that roster with the transfer portal. So you can't blame him. He did a smart thing by doing that.
Yeah.
He knew he had to do something to make a huge impact on his first year, and he did a phenomenal job by doing that. I don't want to give USC any credit because I probably hate them more than you do. But we have the talent. And I'm not saying we've got the high quality, high caliber, 5-star talent that we want, that we're trying to get. But we've got a lot of high rated guys. So to say we don't have all the talent that we need, we've got talent to easily be blowing people out that we should be blowing out. Yes, we should have had 50 plus in the first half last week. Absolutely. Our running back room is a good room. I think we still do have a 3-headed monster. Estimate the fumbles, whatever.
Yeah.
It's happening. But bench him because we do have 2 other quality backs that we can go to.
Yeah, the running back situation, of all the things I'm going to complain about, the running back situation is going to be low on the list. I have 10 other big picture things before I get to them. They're actually one of the things I kind of can rely on every week, I feel like, a little bit.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And here's the thing. If Tommy isn't still, and I said this last week, he's just trying to outsmart everybody. I still think we need to play smash mouth ball with those running backs. Smash them hard in the face. Get the receivers more involved, but he keeps trying to do all this trick play crap and out scheming everybody. We're trying to out scheme teams that we have no business needing to out scheme.
Yeah.
Because we can push them around because we're much more talented. And that's the thing. He's just, somebody earlier, one of the callers said what he was hoping Tommy was going to be the Heisman. Something. I was like, what? He was never that good.
Yeah,
yeah. Tommy was.
Yeah. No.
So,
the fastest Tommy ever ran was from that cop after that house party when he was drinking underage. Like, give me a break, man. I'm Tommy Rees out. Okay, I'm just about Tommy Rees out. I'm Tommy Rees out from the turnover Tommy days back there to all the. I'm just about Tommy'd out, man.
Well, and if you think about it, John, if you remember back to when Tommy was there playing, right? Everybody was saying, hell, I think even Kirk Herbstreit made a comment that Tommy would end up making a great coach because he wasn't going to be a player that was going to ever be in the NFL, but because of his dad and his history of coaching, growing up with a coach, he would make a great coach, and he still might at some point. He ain't got his niche here at Notre Dame. I do believe he needs to go somewhere else. It could even be a different college program. And he just gets away from his alma mater and where the expectations for him are so high.
Yeah.
And that might be part of it. He might just be trying to do too much because of that.
Yeah. I just,
what was expected of him.
Just a fresh outlook might do him good, where everybody doesn't already have built up feelings about him from years and years ago when he was 17, 18. It's very, very complicated. I just know where this all comes to a head is Marcus Freeman has some very, very difficult decisions to make after this year. And he has to do a good job of taking an honest look at things and having some tough conversations with people he likes. That's what this job is. It's a cutthroat, results-based business. So Freeman's got to take a look at that. And if you got to hurt some damn feelings, hurt some damn feelings. He's got to protect his own integrity and coaching life, and he's got to protect Notre Dame. So he has to make tough decisions. Somebody put in the chat, we don't know all of what Freeman knows or thinks. Are we in a position where Freeman agrees with all the stuff we're saying, but what do you want him to say in the middle of the year? He's got to protect his guys, insulate, get up there and say, whatever. Maybe he thinks and sees everything we do, but you're not going to know it till after the USC game when he can make big changes. I'm open to that. But I'm going to be nervous until I know. I'm going to be nervous, though, till I know he sees and thinks what I do.
Here's the thing. I completely agree with that, and I think he does say it because, again, if you just watch his body language, just because they beat UNLV, he knows they should have beat UNLV by twice the amount of points that they had. You watch his body language at the press conferences, and he's saying things behind closed doors. Let me ask you this. The tough decision that Marcus needs to make, when you look at the coaches, other than the obvious glaring one that we've all been talking about for weeks now, being Tommy Rees needs to go. You've only got, one other assistant who is in a second or third year, right? Everybody else came in brand new this year. It's year one with everybody else. Is anybody else to you, because I don't think so, deserving of saying, you know what, you're not cutting it after just 1 year with the new head coach trying to implement new systems? Do you think, other than Tommy, any of the other assistants need to be given the boot after year one?
I don't know about the boot, but I want Al Washington checked up on a little bit. And I was warned about that from the Ohio State people. Good recruiter, good talker, whatever, but you're going to see on the field, you're not going to like the results in the middle of that defense when Al's involved. Unfortunately, the linebackers have been disappointing. And some of that defensive front stuff I don't love. So I know people want him looked into. But I'm more focused on the biggest weakness, which is the other side of the ball, before I'm ready to be worried about anything on defense. Like, I want us to address our biggest problems first, and that is all on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah. I think it's hard to determine because Pine is so locked into Mayer. I think it's really hard to determine how good Chancey Stuckey is developing receivers. I mean, we know we've got talent there again, but I don't think they haven't got enough chances to where, if they were getting passes thrown to them as much as Mayer does, or even half the amount, we'd have a better idea on how good our receivers are if there is some good movement forward with their development. Of course, it comes down to the quarterback too, being able to hit them.
Yeah.
And we know that's an issue. So,
you know what does give me some encouragement? I think Chancey Stuckey is, one, a really good recruiter. Number two is, I think Chancey Stuckey is a very good teacher. And I think that's super needed right now. And it's going to be needed in the next year or two, because we are going to be forced to have freshmen play and contribute to build back the depth up that you need to get into the real world, how other teams do it, and have depth coming and going through the years consistently. Notre Dame's going to be forced to play a lot of young guys at wide receiver the next couple of years. Chancey Stuckey's a pretty good teacher, a lot of patience, good communicator. He has the toughest job on the staff this year, in my opinion, as far as assistants. But I think he's going to do good, and we need him to, because he has the toughest job on the staff other than Marcus right now.
I agree. We're going to see some young kids playing. I think we're going to start seeing it, or at least I hope we're going to start seeing it as a whole throughout all the positions. I mean, running back, we do have young players playing this year, and they're showing that they can do it. And that's, that's better recruiting. But look who we had as our last running backs coach. Lance Taylor did a great job recruiting some great running backs. So they're getting their chance to play early this year. I think you're going to see more of that with the development of the receivers. I'll kind of switch gears here. I'll tell you one thing. The relationships that are being built, I was glad to see. I read an article yesterday. Charles Jagasaw was back on campus, and nothing but great things to say about his relationship still that he's still continuing to build, and how happy and excited he is to get here. Of course, his season just ended. His football season just ended. He's getting ready to go into wrestling. But it is good to see it, because I've been really worried about the receivers. Since the receivers aren't getting the ball this year, what is that good recruiting class of receivers that we have coming in for 23? How are they feeling right now? Well, shit, why should I go there? You're not throwing to me. Maybe I need to go to Ohio State, where they're, producing first.
But that's where I get stuck with this, all connecting to something else that connects to something else. It's like, well, if we had all these really good receivers, the quarterback, whoever it was, would look better. But you got to give them a reason to get excited to want to go play there. I don't blame a wide receiver, even if you love Notre Dame and want a good education and you went to Catholic school and all that, and your parents value it. If I'm a wide receiver, I'm also going, who's the guy that's going to be getting me the ball or not? I would like to know that before I make my decision. I don't blame any wide receiver for wanting to know that. Like, am I even going to get the ball thrown to me from a capable guy? I think that's fair to want to know.
Yep. Totally agree. Which goes back to, Tommy's got to go, and we need a quarterback, which kind of brings me to my last thing. One of the other callers who said that, talking about Buckner and when y'all were saying, he's injury prone and everything, the freak accident of falling down the steps, whatever happened there. Everybody's had a freak accident. Everybody has stubbed their toe, rolled your ankle, done something. It's a freak thing. Not everybody's
the head quarterback at Notre Dame, though, my friend.
Well, but it happens to everybody.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares if I trip down the stairs to start this show in the morning,
Well, no, but that's because you get to sit on your ass on a chair, so you ain't got to be up to be mobile.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'll give you. Yeah, that's a fair point.
But the torn ACL, that was a football-related injury. Nobody was saying all this stuff about Avery Davis. Look at that poor guy's entire career.
Yeah.
All
right, but let me ask this, though. But wait. I got to ask this, though. Okay. What if I said to you, everything you're saying is perfectly true, but regardless of why and the reason and whose fault it is, or nobody's fault but bad luck, results are results. Development or not development is develop or not development. No matter the reasons and whose fault they are, or no one's fault, I'm either getting what I need or I'm not. Like, at some point, doesn't it just come down to that fact? You're either getting what you need out of that room and that guy, or you're not, regardless of the reason. That's harsh, but don't you get to a point where that's what it all comes down to?
All right. Yes, and let me finish that statement that you've started to make.
Okay.
The running backs, right? We had injuries, and the next guy was able to step up because we had good quality talent there. We don't have good quality backup talent at quarterback.
Well, I think right away though, I'm having trouble with this, because there's no way I'm comparing any running back situation and a backup to quarterback. They're totally, totally different. And there's a reason in the NFL they don't pay those running backs what they're worth, because the value is you could get another guy to do a pretty good job behind them, unless it's an elite of the elite of the elite. So that's already tricky, because I don't look at them the same. Quarterback's just way more important and way harder to find good ones.
I'm going to call your bluff on that, though, because you've talked about it before, that we haven't, Kelly and Rees never went after high-quality quarterbacks, the 5-stars. They didn't. Had they been going after those 5-stars, because you look at some of these teams, you look at the Alabamas, they've got multiple 5-star quarterbacks, because it's just one right after another, right after another.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do. And that's the thing that you
But wait a second. But why are they not? It makes no sense to me. When we say we're not going after them, do you mean like we have no chance to go after them? So then that's how you end up going down the list to your 15th quarterback? Because why would you not be going after the top guys? Or are we just bad at it?
Kelly was lazy.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
the next thing out of my mouth was Kelly jumping on these guys 3 years after everybody else built relationships with them, and it's too late, and then you're out of the mix.
Absolutely correct.
Correct.
And we need a dedicated, high caliber quarterbacks coach to develop the young guys, to have them ready. When you've got Tommy trying to get his mind right on what he needs to do as an offensive coordinator, and you're expecting him to be able to, when he himself wasn't a superstar talent at quarterback, but you're also asking him to try to develop the quarterbacks we do have, we're kicking ourselves right in the nuts because we're not doing what we should be doing at that position. We need to recruit that position much better, go after multiple 5-star quarterbacks every year.
And then develop them. And then develop them. I am incredibly disturbed at the track record of quarterback development in this program recently. Even the highest rated guys, the better guys, Ian Book, stats went down. The more games he started under Kelly, the worse his numbers got. Go back to the guy best before him, Deshaun Kaiser, same thing. The more he started under Kelly, the worse his numbers got. Something's wrong.
Yep.
I hate it.
That we've had 5 years.
It's
Gunnar
rough,
Keel,
dude.
5-star, terrible. He'd never gotten developed.
Was Phil the one? Phil was probably the one it should have been, and you ran him off.
Yep.
At least he had a big body and a big arm. Phil at least had a big body and a big arm.
You know what? Here's the sad thing. Look at how good Phil Jurkovic has done since he left Notre Dame. And I'm afraid, if he would have stayed, he would have never developed. He's done much better. He was much, much better off leaving Notre Dame because he's actually got good quality playing time, has been developed, and is going to end up being on an NFL team. Can't say that about anybody coming out of Notre Dame recently.
This is just a dark turn, man. It's a dark turn. Like, we just uncover one issue wrapped into... That's the big picture problem, man. I'm going to get running on you because I got a couple more calls I want to get in. But everything we've talked about, man, is a problem wrapped into another problem, weaved into the fabric of another large-scale problem. Like, none of this is easily fixable. It's all complicated, and I don't like it.
John, it comes down to the same thing, though. It comes down to that offensive coordinator position. We need to get somebody in there who's got the experience, who's proven at being an offensive coordinator, and can still be on that high recruiting level. And I think we're going to see some changes. We got to give it time. I'm still with you. Marcus needs a few years to flip it, and that might mean he's got to flip a couple coaching positions as well. But we're going to get there. Don't worry about it.
All right,
faith,
I like that. I like that positive angle. And hey, I think Notre Dame can go in there and win this game by a score or more easy this week. But they just have to play decent football again. We'll see if it happens. Thanks for the call, man.
All right, John. Go Irish.
Hey, go Irish. And then you're in Illinois. We'll hang out sometime. We'll go watch a ball game, go play golf, grab a beer somewhere in the suburbs. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
All righty. Beautiful. Have a good one, man.
All right, bud, John. Take care.
See ya. Take care. I know just from his area code where he's at in the city, just from the 224 where he's at in Illinois. Oh, man. All right. So Brad Johnson, fire everybody else and start fresh. I'm telling you guys, there's just problem weaved into another problem, sewn into the fabric of a bigger problem, all wrapped into the mosaic of a larger scale problem. That's my issue. Everything we need to get better is wrapped into 4 other things. There are no easy fixes. There are no quick ones. This is hard. This stuff's hard, and it's supposed to be hard. 734, give me some more. What's going on today?
Hey, John, it's your favorite Irish optimist, man. We discussed my roadmap to 11-2 a few weeks ago. Now I got my roadmap to 10-3, brother.
All right, so there's no way around it. Notre Dame has a tough stretch to end the year here. 3 very quality opponents, and then a rivalry game, and then an academy. So this is a very unique back end of the schedule, tough games. Give me the layout. What is the roadmap? Give it to me, and give it to me straight. Give it to me real.
All right, brother. Well, listen, we're a fumble away from being a 5-2 football team, and our fan base has a totally different mindset. We're going into this game, we're better than Syracuse. Or, so they're coming off a tough loss. We should be able to go in there and get them. We're still that same football team. I feel we're a better football team than Syracuse. They're going to have that hangover. The game's at noon. Makes all the difference in the world, man. That dome ain't going to be as on fire as it would be for, had they beaten Clemson, it was later in the day game.
Yep, I totally agree with you. And then you know what, man? That's nothing but just human nature. That's all that is. That's human nature.
Exactly.
Coming off a big physical game, let down, you got a loss, and then, oh, by the way, you don't even have 9 hours to drink. That's what that's called.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And I don't know too many Syracuse fans that are getting up at 5 in the morning and getting down like we do.
Right.
But then moving on to the Clemson game next week. It's something magical about Notre Dame at night. I mean, let's throw away that Stanford BS, man. I think coming off this Syracuse win Saturday, rolling into Clemson, I'm looking for a big win at home, John.
Hey, you know what, man? As fickle as fans are week to week, you find a way to beat Clemson, a lot of things are forgiven. Because, think about it. If you found a way to beat Clemson somehow, some way, it doesn't undo those bad losses, but it shows you that as low as they were capable reaching this year, it shows you that they're capable of doing it on the plus side too. As extreme as the lows were, if you beat Clemson, people at least know you have it in you to go to the high end too.
Absolutely, I agree. I'll tell you what, we win these next 2 games, and like you said, we get to 6-3. There's gonna be a lot of fans. Oh man, they're gonna come around. Oh man, we had some bad breaks early on, but look at this team. They persevered. They fought back, and we got a whole totally different mindset for the last 2 games of the year, brother.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but it all starts. I said it's a double-edged sword. Notre Dame fans and the team are very frustrated with where we're at. The back end of this schedule provides a lot of opportunities to change some of that narrative and look a lot better. The flip side of that is if it keeps going down, this is going to end really ugly. And this offseason is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a very frustrating, dark offseason if this trends down, especially culminating with something bad happening in LA.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, like you said, this go one or two ways. We can go out, like the 2009 season when we were, we went from 6-2 to 6-6, and Charlie Weiss didn't get on the plane. Or, like you said, man, we can snowball this into something special, man. Like unfortunately, I'm that optimistic. I can find the good in anything when it comes to Notre Dame, and I love these sorry bastards, man. I do. I bleed for this.
Yep. It's just the way we are, man. It's not dude, it always gets to me when people are like, Notre Dame never wins anything and stresses you out. Why don't you pick another team? You act like I just randomly flipped through the Sears catalog when I was 3 and picked Notre Dame to love. Like, it's not an option. I did not choose Notre Dame. It's who we are. I didn't pick it.
Hey, I was born into this. I'm going to email you a picture of me swaddled as a baby with my little Notre Dame beanie and blanket when I was an hour old.
It's for life, man. It's for life. So do you think we get it done at Syracuse? You think we fight this one out?
I think it's going to be a tough game. Simply because, again, I think Syracuse is going to come in a little reeling, and we can't settle for field goals. When we get down that red zone, man, we have to punch it in.
Hey, I'm sorry.
I mean, that UNLV,
listen,
game
man,
should have been 70-7.
That is why I made the complaints I did that some people don't like. Is I was looking at this stretch of Syracuse Clemson, and I'm thinking, you settle for 3 instead of 7 against these teams, you're going to lose. And I wanted to see them clean that up and put more balls in the end zone, and they didn't.
Right. Yeah, I did the same thing. I had to fortify the mid-top want to. I can't say we just want to get two guys or a guy down, something else from our broadcasting school of journalism to do the game.
Hey, yo, I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble hearing you, man. You're cutting out. It's all fuzzy.
Okay, sorry about that. What I was saying was we can get a couple. I had to watch the game on mute on Peacock because of Garrett Collinsworth's inability to.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. It's a very rough. To me, it's rough. It's almost like they're not even there. There's just no energy. There's no excitement. It doesn't feel like anything important or big is happening. I am just not a fan of NBC's production for Notre Dame anymore. And I want them to find a new partner. And I realize that could bring with it some big sea changes for Notre Dame. Might be time because it's a bad partner. Notre Dame's a B-level entity to them, and I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either, John. Yeah, 100%. But let's stay on task here, man. These next two games again, huge. Get a little momentum. We got BC. We got a Service Academy football, and then we got that trip out west, brother.
Yep, we got to get it, man. Hey, there's a big opportunity here for Notre Dame to really change the tides here. But they got to put in some good work and play some really well-rounded football games for the entire games. Not a part of it, not 1.5. To do what we're talking about, they have to have a really good effort for full games moving forward. Let's see if they can do it, man.
Absolutely. I know you're up against it, brother, so I'm going to get going. Hey, go Irish.
Beautiful. Thanks for the call, man. Thanks. Have a good one. See you. Oh, all right, folks. We went 22 minutes over today. That was the last one that I promised would be able to get in. 22 minutes over, and I apologize. Friday, we're going to do the Friday freak out. Okay, so we're going to have some fun. I got a couple things planned for that. Tony says, give Brian Mason a bonus. Special teams been a pleasant surprise. Fantastic. Clear upgrade with Mason. And it's obvious that's a good operation Notre Dame has. And it's not Brian Polian. Okay. That's the best part about it is it's not Brian Polian. Really happy with that so far that I don't have to complain about special teams that much this year. Thanks for everybody for being here. We're going to be back Friday, call in, and then Saturday as well. The following week gets tricky because I'm going to the game and I'm going to be there all weekend because I got a house. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do Friday morning next week or if I could do Friday morning, then drive to the house in South Bend I'm staying at. And then there obviously isn't going to be a game show because I'm going to be at the game. We will figure all that out though. So I'm going to make sure, even if I can't go live for Clemson, I will pre-record stuff to put out so that while I'm there mingling and doing all that, you're still getting some Always Irish. It just can't be live. Okay. So, all right, folks, thanks for being here. Everybody have a good day. Be safe. Be nice to people. Life's too short not to. Talk to you later.